Hi guys, it's Kate here for a dual book review. So I figured I'd lump these two books since they are pretty similar and just call it vintage chick lit reviews. So these kind of modern classics, Stella Gibbons, Angela Thirkle, I'm just going to just start calling it vintage chick lit because this is kind of chick lit before chick lit was a thing. So I'm going to be reviewing Angela Thirkle's Wild Strawberries and Stella Gibbons' Nightingale Wood. So I will start with Nightingale Wood. And this is the story of Viola Wither, who is a recent widow and has nowhere else to go, so she moves in with her former in-laws. And unfortunately, they are an atrocious bunch who are just miserable to hang out with. The dad is super grumpy and is grumpy pretty much about everything. His daughter was feeling under the weather, you know, in one part of the story, and then she says she's feeling miles better, and he says, how can you feel miles better? A mile is a measurement of distance. It's not a feeling. And so just kind of being grumpy about everything he can. Mrs. Wither is a little bit less grumpy, but she's still not that fun to be around. Then one of the sisters-in-law, Tina, is, you soon find out, very soon into the story, so I don't think I'm really spoiling anything here. She's fallen in love with the chauffeur, Saxon. So that is, you know, an interesting part of the plot, seeing her be in love with Saxon. And then her sister Madge dreadfully wants a dog. And so that's kind of the thing that you know about her character. And so Viola moves in with his family and soon comes to find out how much she does not like her life with them. And then soon pops into the picture, they just live nearby, are the Spring family, and Victor Spring is a very eligible bachelor that all of the young ladies think is swoon-worthy. And so, of course, eventually, Viola begins to fall in love with Victor. And so the book is kind of about her being in love with Victor, and will they end up together, will they not? And so I would say, if you're going to read this, something that's good to know going into this is that Victor is going to be a very, very frustrating character for you. I gave this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed it, but Victor was a really hard character for me. I went so back and forth over whether I liked him and over whether he even deserved Viola. I just think that I'm glad that I didn't let him ruin the book for me, because he can be very frustrating. And I buddy read this with Ange from Beyond the Pages. Of course, I'll link her channel down below. And we both just felt the same way. Like we were just so frustrated with him. But what really made the story for me was everything else. Like, I didn't really rely on the romance in this. The romance, there are parts of it, you know, that can be fun and can be sweet, but what really made this book for me was everything else in the story, because Stella Gibbons is so hilarious. I'd like to read this one quote to you, and this is when the Wither family decides they're going to host a garden party, and there's a big dog named Chappie who is coming to the party, and they are not happy that he's coming to the garden party. And it says, Chappie was an enormous dog of extroverted temperament and seething energy. Disliked by the entire neighborhood, he was not vicious. Everyone wished that he were, and then there might have been a chance of getting rid of him. He was only too much, too large, too friendly, too energetic. He was also a barker, delighted with any excuse, or without any excuse, to bark for an hour or more. He liked galloping round with a gang of small boys. He liked a crowd, preferably a well-dressed crowd, but any crowd was better than none. He had dozens of acquaintances, but no friends except for the Parshams, who were very fond of him. And the Parshams are the family that owned him. So this book had a lot of laugh-out-loud moments. I really appreciated Stella Gibbons' sense of humor, and I was surprised at how much happened in this book. It is 387 pages long, and I felt like so much happened in this. There is some really pretty passages in this, and I really enjoyed the pacing of the plot. There were a couple chapters where maybe not as much happened, but in general, there's a pretty fair amount of action happening in it. And so I would say, don't necessarily rely on the romance to enjoy this book. It is a very enjoyable book, but don't think of the romance as going to be this one of like those ultimate romances that you read in a book. And I think the humor in it and the other characters and just all the personalities and the writing will make this book for you. So I gave this book a 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. And then on to the second book, which is Wild Strawberries by Angela Thirkle. I've decided that Angela Thirkle is P.G. Wodehouse for girls. So she really just has similar kind of hijinks and social faux pas that go on in hers, and just really weird situations that would not really probably happen in everyday life, but it's about people who don't really have that many financial troubles and can just kind of socialize all the time like they do in PG Wodehouse ones. So she definitely has a sense of humor, and I did laugh out loud at several moments in this. And this is about Mary Preston, and she comes to stay for the summer with her sister-in-law Agnes and her brother, and with Agnes's family. She has two single brothers, John and David. So throughout the book, basically, Mary's going back and forth over who she should be interested in. And then, so, you know, she starts to fall in love. She's not sure who she should fall in love with. And, you know, sometimes David is doing these grand gestures, and then other times just kind of forgetting about her. And so that is basically the plot. And then there are, of course, some side plots, some very hilarious side plots of plans for a big demonstration at a party they're going to have that go horribly wrong, and also a odious guest who is always curmudgeonly, called Mr. Holt, and he always wants to tour the gardens and is just kind of a boring guest that none of them like, and just a really funny thing that just totally reminds me of something PG Wodehouse would do. And so this is a very quick read, and two things I will say about Angela Thirkell I think I've learned now reading, this is my second one. One is I think it would be helpful to make a list of all the characters at the beginning. She just throws a bunch of characters at you all at once, and that can be really overwhelming and confusing. And I've heard this from a couple people now who have read Angela Thirkell. So I think that would be helpful. It was kind of hard to keep track of them, and I wish I had just written them down from the beginning. And then I will also say, this is not necessarily something where you get to know people in depth, but I really enjoyed this nonetheless. This is totally, you know, a modern classic British type of thing that I love, so that's why I enjoyed it. So it's not really the best for maybe character analysis, character study, but it's just a lot of good fun. And so I would say it's just fun, lighthearted romance, and kind of all of the puzzle pieces fit together really easily at the end. So if you just like it for what it is, I think you'll really enjoy Angela Thirkell. This definitely did make me laugh out loud in certain points, and it ended up being kind of what I thought it was going to be, just a lighthearted modern classic. So I will be continuing to call these vintage chick lit. So these are too good. If you loved I Capture the Castle, I would highly recommend these. And I think they were really enjoyable, and I definitely want to read more Stella Gibbons, and I want to read more Angela Thirkell. So I hope you guys enjoyed this and are having a great day, and I will see you for another video soon. Bye-bye.